There's a half-second gap between what happens to you and what you do next. Almost nobody knows it exists. Once you find it, you can't unsee it, and everything changes. Think about that. You've been told success comes from motivation. You've been told it comes from talent. You've been told it comes from luck. None of that is true. The real cause is simpler and harder than all of it. Control of attention. We're going to explore how to catch your mind before it runs, how to turn reaction into choice, and how to build a life that isn't ruled by whatever thought shows up first. Your mind will lead if you don't lead first. Control is not a cage. It's your freedom. How does an untrained mind actually behave? Left alone, it drifts. It reacts. It grabs the nearest fear or the nearest craving and follows it like a dog off a leash. You've felt this. A comment stings and your whole evening changes. A notification buzzes and an hour disappears. You didn't choose any of that. It happened to you. Your mind will lead if you don't lead first. Control is not a cage. It's your freedom. Say it again in your head. Let it sit there. Here is the first core idea. Attention is not passive. It is the most active thing you own, and most people spend it like they'll never run out. You won't get this hour back. You won't get this year back. Every unguided moment is a vote cast for a version of you that you didn't choose on purpose. Think about a garden left untouched for a season. Nobody plants weeds. Nobody waters them on purpose. They just arrive because the soil was open and nothing else was growing there. Your mind works exactly the same way. If you don't plant something intentional, something else will grow there instead. Worry, comparison, distraction. Not because you invited it, because you left the ground open. Don't manage your mind. Master it. That's the pivot. Managing is defense. You're still reacting, just more politely. Mastering is offense. You decide what grows before the weeds get the chance. This isn't about becoming an emotionless machine. It's about becoming the gardener instead of the weather. You've made mistakes with this before. Everyone has. You've let a bad morning become a bad week. Discipline, that is the difference between the people who drift and the people who direct. Not intelligence, not luck, direction. And here's the hope buried inside the hard truth. You can start today in this exact sentence by deciding what you'll pay attention to next. One distracted morning won't ruin your life. One angry reaction won't define your character. But one undirected mind, repeated for years, becomes a person you don't recognize. Small moments are never small. They're rehearsals. You are always rehearsing the person you're about to become, whether you notice or not. So the mind that leads you is not some mysterious force outside your control. It's built the same way everything else is built. One unguarded moment at a time. Change how you spend those moments, and you change everything downstream. That's not motivation talking. That's just how minds work. Music your mind will lead if you don't lead first. Control is not a cage. It's your freedom. Why does this matter so much? Because every choice you make is quietly a statement about who you're becoming. Not what you're doing, who you're becoming. This is the part most people skip, because it feels abstract. But it's the most practical idea in this entire video. You are not just doing tasks. You are casting votes. Every time you choose the disciplined thought over the easy one, you cast a vote for a calmer, stronger version of yourself. Every time you let the mind run wild, you cast a vote for the version that stays stuck. Nobody counts these votes out loud, but they're being counted. Every day, every hour, think about bricklaying. No single brick makes a wall. One brick, laid by itself, means almost nothing. You could remove it and nobody would notice. The building was different. But lay one brick a day, every day, for a year, and you have something that holds weight, something that shelters people, something permanent. Your thoughts are bricks. Your reactions are bricks. Nobody sees the wall forming in real time. They only see it once it's finished. Good or bad, don't manage your mind. Master it. Say it before every choice that feels small. Because the truth is, there is no such thing as a small choice when it comes to identity. There's only choices you haven't recognized yet as identity forming. One skipped workout won't make you unhealthy. One skipped meditation won't make you anxious. One dismissed grudge won't make you bitter. But one pattern, repeated for years, becomes exactly who you are. You don't drift into becoming disciplined. You drift into becoming undisciplined. Discipline is the thing you have to choose. Undiscipline is simply what happens when nobody chooses anything. This is where guilt tries to creep in, and you need to release it right now. You've already cast votes you're not proud of. Everyone has. But an old vote doesn't lock in the final outcome. It's not a democracy with one election. It's a democracy with an election every single day. Today's votes count exactly as much as yesterday's, no matter how yesterday went. So the next time your mind wants to spiral, wants to catastrophize, wants to numb out instead of face something, pause and ask one question. What vote am I casting right now? That question alone changes the outcome more often than people expect, because it interrupts the autopilot just long enough for you to choose again. You are not your worst thought. You are not your best day either. You are the sum of every vote, added up slowly. Over time, you don't fully see until you look back. Start casting better ones. Starting now, your mind will lead if you don't lead first. Control is not a cage, it's your freedom. What happens when nobody's steering? The mind doesn't sit still, it defaults. It runs the same grooves it ran yesterday. Because grooves are easy, and new paths take effort. This is the trap almost nobody talks about. You can go years without a single original thought, just replaying the same fears on a loop and call it just how you are. Think about a river carving a canyon. Water doesn't need permission to cut through stone. It just needs time and repetition. The first drop does almost nothing. The millionth drop, following the exact same path, creates something 1,000 feet deep. Your habitual thoughts do the same thing to your mind. Every time you follow the same worry, the same excuse, the same story about why you can't, you're not just thinking it. You're carving it deeper, making it easier to fall into next time. This is why just think positive fails so many people. It's not that positivity is wrong. It's that you can't out-positive a canyon that's already 1,000 feet deep. You have to cut a new path, on purpose, over and over, until the new path becomes the easy one instead of the old one. Don't manage your mind. Master it. Mastery here means catching the groove before you fall into it. It means noticing there's that thought again, instead of being pulled under by it automatically. That noticing, just that, is the entire difference between a reactive mind and a directed one. One new thought won't erase an old pattern. One good decision won't undo years of autopilot. But one new path walked daily eventually becomes wider than the old one ever was. Water doesn't fight the old canyon. It simply starts cutting a new one, patiently, until the new one is the path of least resistance. You don't need to win this battle today. You need to lose it slightly less than you did yesterday. That's how canyons change direction. Not with force. With repetition aimed on purpose, for longer than feels comfortable. Here's the resolution worth sitting with. Your default mode is not your identity. It's just your oldest habit. Habits can be replaced. Slowly, yes. Undramatically, yes. But completely, eventually. If you keep choosing the new path, even when the old one is easier to fall into, your mind will lead if you don't lead first. Control is not a cage. It's your freedom. Here's something that changes people the moment they truly understand it. Between what happens to you and how you respond, there is a gap. A small one. Most people never notice it exists. Because it closes so fast it feels automatic. But that gap is where your entire life is decided. Think about a wave in the ocean. It doesn't ask permission before it hits you. It just comes. You can't stop the wave. Nobody can. But you can decide whether you get pulled under by it, or whether you dive underneath it and let it pass. The wave is not the problem. Your relationship to the wave is the problem. Your emotions work exactly the same way. They arrive uninvited, exactly like a wave. What happens next is entirely up to you. Don't manage your mind. Master it, In this episode, mastering means widening that gap between the trigger and the reaction. Even half a second helps. Half a second is the difference between an email that ruins your week and an email that's just an email. One deep breath won't fix a hard conversation. One pause won't undo years of reactivity. But one pause, practiced consistently, becomes the difference between a person who's ruled by their emotions and a person who simply feels them and moves on. The goal was never to stop feeling. The goal is to stop being controlled by the feeling. This is where identity comes back in. Every time you widen that gap, you're voting for a calmer version of yourself. Every time you let the wave pull you under, you're voting for the opposite. Neither vote is permanent. Both are available to you again in the very next moment life throws at you. And it will probably today. You've been pulled under before. Everyone has. That doesn't mean you're bad at this. It means you're human, and the wave was bigger than your training at the time. Train the pause anyway. Train it especially after the days you got pulled under, because those are the days that teach you the most about where the gap needs to be widened. The wave will keep coming. That was never going to change. What changes is you, standing steadier in the water, diving under instead of getting swept away, again and again, until it starts to feel less like effort and more like who you are. Your mind will lead if you don't lead first. Control is not a cage. It's your freedom. Now for the part nobody wants to hear, but everybody needs to. Control doesn't decay all at once. It erodes quietly, one skipped moment at a time, until one day you look up and realize you haven't been steering in weeks. One missed day is a mistake. 2 missed days is a habit. That's not a guilt trip. That's just how patterns work. And you deserve to know it clearly instead of finding out the hard way. Think about a candle left burning in the wind. One gust doesn't put it out. The flame just bends, flickers, and comes back. But gust after gust, unshielded, eventually finds the moment the flame can't recover from. Your mental discipline is the same flame. One hard day won't extinguish it. But if you stop shielding it, stop protecting your attention, stop noticing your defaults, stop widening that gap, the wind eventually wins. Don't manage your mind. Master it. Especially on the days it feels pointless. Especially on the days you've already slipped. Mastery was never about a perfect streak. It was always about how fast you relight the flame after it goes out. Here's the redemption mechanic, and it matters more than the mistake ever did. A missed day is not a verdict. It's a data point. You look at it, you learn from it, and you go again tomorrow. The people who stay stuck aren't the ones who slip. Everyone slips. The people who stay stuck are the ones who decide the slip means something permanent about who they are. One missed morning doesn't make you lazy. One lost temper doesn't make you weak. One relapse into old thinking doesn't erase months of progress. But treating that one moment as proof that you've failed, that's the thing that actually costs you the progress. Not the slip. The story you tell yourself about the slip. So relight the flame. Today if you need to. Not because you're behind some imaginary schedule, but because the flame doesn't care how many times it's gone out before. It only cares whether you're willing to strike the match again. Right now, in this exact moment you're in. Your mind will lead if you don't lead first. Control is not a cage, it's your freedom. One day, someone is going to ask you how you did it, how you became calmer, how you stopped being ruled by every stray thought and every sudden mood. They'll expect a complicated answer, a secret, a shortcut they can copy. The true answer will be humble, almost too simple to say out loud. You'll tell them, I decided to lead before my mind could. I watered the garden on purpose. I laid bricks I couldn't see the shape of yet. I cut a new path even when the old one was easier. I widened the gap between what happened and how I responded. I relit the flame every time it went out, without turning the slip into a verdict. That's the whole answer. Not talent, not luck, not one dramatic turning point. Just a mind that was led instead of followed. One ordinary moment at a time. For long enough that it stopped being effort and started being who you are. Most people never choose a single thought in their entire life. You don't have to be most people. Think about that. Your mind will lead if you don't lead first. Control is not a cage. It's your freedom. You don't need a perfect day to prove this is true. You need one directed thought right now in the next 60 seconds. That's where it starts. That's where it always starts. So make the promise quietly to no one but yourself. Not a resolution you'll announce. A decision you'll keep. Whether anyone ever finds out or not, you will lead your mind. It will not lead you, control your mind before it controls your life.